All right, let's see if this video will follow on. I've just got my phone charging now. If I can get this to actually work. Bloody old Samsungs. I've always been an Apple user. Anyway, look, it's for free. So at the moment when I don't have the income like I had, I don't have the phone that I would normally have either. If I had the income back, I would have what I would normally have. But anyway, I'm going to continue on for the previous post. So there's been a lot of stories made up. It's actually even gone to mental health, which is really weird, where a lot of people have made comments about me that isn't actually me. So in the last 9 years, I've actually turned to people and said, the comments you're making that you've projected into my life relate strongly to, mum's nephew, Shane Childs. So I actually had some people who say, I picture you as being this person that grew up loving nature and involved in wildlife, and you walked around with a lizard on one shoulder and a snake on the other shoulder, and you're this type of person and drove a ute into Sydney, changed you. I'm like, that's not true. You'd actually just mentioned my cousin, which I can't who I can't stand, my mother's sister's son, who's actually born and raised in the country. I mean, God, his father's from the country. They're country people. So you've described somebody who isn't me. Then I had other people describe my mother's stepson, Daniel Rackley. So these people are describing people who aren't me. So I've never been someone that has ever, to give you a character of person I am, I always did my cardio inside a gym. I would always run around the city, walk around the city. I would never run in a field or fucking dirt and grass and trees. I've never been someone that's ever been involved in nature. I've never lived in nature, even though we owned horses and had a horse stud. So again, my mother's been one of the biggest ones who said, Giovanni changed you. So what I want everyone to do is to remember me before 2009. And then ask yourself, how did Giovanni change Justin? Because he was never close with his mother or his mother's family before that. Anybody who knows me would know you can even go back through my entire life. But what's best is, if you look at me before 2009, you see photos of me. You'll see videos of me. You'll see videos of me studying at Screamwise in 2006 and how I looked and what I'm wearing. You'll see videos of me in 2007 with my jewelry, my assets, my belongings, my expensive clothing. If you know me, you would know that I haven't changed. I've just gotten old and fat. And that's the thing. You would know that whoever's making up these lies, they're making up lies. And they're doing it as a very narcissist. Like, for an example, my twin sister's good at this. I do hate my twin sister. I hate her guts. I think she's evil. I think she's very evil like Carol. I'll tell you what, because she married a person she married this fucking loser. Seriously, she wouldn't have even known this guy if she didn't change high schools. The guy she married, some country guy, when she changed high schools. And I really can't stand the guy. I didn't grow up with him. We didn't go to school together. So whenever, Amanda and I so mum moved in 1989. I think I've made it perfectly clear now. Previously, before that, we're at St. Aidan's in Rooty Hill, very ethnic school. And then we went to high school at Our Lady of Rosary College. I moved back home to Sydney after year 10. Amanda went to a different high school. She met this guy, this country guy, married him, and then started behaving like him and his friends and his family. I went and visited Amanda once and she was talking about roasting marshmallows at a campfire with her sons. And then she goes, well, you used to like this. I'm like, you sound like Carol, Amanda. Very much like Carol making up stories. I said, no, I didn't. Since when? When have I been this person? This is what you do with your husband's friends, because this is what your husband's life was growing up, Amanda. So my mum makes up these stories. She's good at it, which is, again, why Belinda Jeffries, hi, if you ever see this, there's a good reason why I recorded your friend Ush and you guys. So if you want to know me, you get information from me. Let me explain to you exactly. My mother has completely changed who she was when she got with her second husband. My mother was very much a city person. She spent every single day in the city with work, then went back to the suburbs where we had the horse stud in Rooty Hill, which is about, say, 5-10 minutes from Parramatta. Well, really, it's not that far because where the horse stub was situated, which is now a house in the state, it was just down the road from the Great Western Highway. You jump on the highway and you're right there in Parramatta. Really, it was around the corner from Australia's Wonderland. Although literally, Australia's Wonderland was at our doorstep. That's where we were living. So if anyone remembers Australia's Wonderland, our horse stub was right near there when I grew up. That's how I grew up, people. Stop making up stories. I grew up, so people think I've changed. Okay, I grew up listening to jazz and classical. My mother's music taste right now, what she likes, this is what my mother liked. So my mother never liked this music before. This is what her second husband, Mark Rackley, liked. Okay? Everything was for the Rackleys. Now, my dad, I can tell you right now what my dad's favourite band was growing up. I'm very close to Mark Fleming, my dad. My dad's favourite singer was Joe Jackson. I loved it. Oh, God, still love it. We used to sit in Parramatta in Dad's car. Dad always had muscle cars. He had this great car with a Cobra alarm system. We used to could turn the Cobra alarm system up. It was like this massive big keypad. He had like fancy cars, fancy clothes. It was great. So at Nan and Pop's in Rainbow Street, Parramatta, Dad's parents were getting there, and Dad was a builder, but he was also working at a nightclub in Parramatta back then as well. Dad always worked. My parents always worked. So Dad was working 2 jobs. He worked, oh God, what was it? When else he worked? He was doing security or something. He was managing it in the office because we went and saw him once and he was just looking at the cameras. That's all he had to do, basically. So he was building all day, then working at this other job in Parramatta. And that's Dad. Dad always wore gold jewelry. See, here's the thing. Everyone keeps saying, oh, but Justin has always worn a shitload of gold jewelry, shitloads of gold bracelets and expensive watches and rings. So did his father, Mark Ian Fleming. Go have a look at photos of him when he was younger. There's a photo which I always bring up and people are like, that's not Justin. I'm like, yes, that's me. Yeah, with a mullet with black hair. My hair's naturally black and Amanda next to me. That's our father, Mark Ian Fleming, in the middle. He's a very stylish guy in his polo shirt and those pants. Yeah, this is our life. People have made up so many stories in the last 9 years. Deb Mears, you're one of them. You're a dumb dog shit bitch from the country. So I can't live anywhere. I can only live in the city. And I won't change. If you're not from the city or if you're not from Sydney, then don't live here. Leave it for people who actually are from Sydney and their family is from the city and they really can't live anywhere. If you are from the country, then stay there because that's where your family's from. Okay? Now, who I've always warned, who these idiots think I am is not who I am. Who I am is who I've been right from my relationship with Giovanni because I never changed. I was just who I always was. So I want people to go and have a look at photos of me growing up. Not photos of me when I'm in my house clothes having to go work horses or things like this because that's what my mother wanted. Go and have a look at who I really was. So when I was going to under 18s discos as a 7-year-old at Rudy Hill RSL, which I was, every Friday night. I used to also work for John Smales at Family Boats, all that Pop did. That's, Pop actually helped him get out of bankruptcy. But I used to, every holiday, be working with Pop down there, doing up boats and so forth. I played soccer growing up. I was only ever forced to play rugby league because my mother wanted me to be like the people she now lives around. Remember this. Where my mother lives, my family is not from. My mother's not from. She's changed her lifestyle to fit into these people. She's ridiculous. She's an idiot. I feel embarrassed for her. And anybody who speaks to my mother better never be friends with me. I wouldn't come... If you get information from my mother that isn't actual facts, seriously, people can turn around and go, well, why does he hate his family? Oh, because they lie about him all the time. They want him to be somebody else than what he is. What's Justin been like? Someone that's always hated dirt. God, he used to hang out at Leichhardt at his nan's place, which is, Big Nan and Uncle Fred, my great uncle and great grandmother, more than anyone else. Courtyard, city living in the house. That's what he's always been like. He hated, was never an outdoorsy person. Swim in a swimming pool, whatever, maybe, down the coffee shop. And here's the other thing. Coffee gets brought up, right? Yeah. I was going to the coffee shop down the road in Rooty Hill Road with my friend Graydon from St Aidan's. So we used to get off the bus. I can even show you exactly where the bus is to stop. We used to walk down there and have a coffee after school. That was 80s living. I think it was Andronicus, the coffee. It's terrible compared to the coffee we have these days. But there was cafes. 30-second walk from where I lived. Like where I live now is more rural, and this is so funny. It's close to the city, but it feels more rural than where I grew up. That's what idiots don't understand. They keep making up stories. I'm some country guy. I'm not a country guy. I'm not a nature guy. I'm a city guy. I have never changed. Okay? I've told immigration over and over again till I'm blue in the face. It's like, yeah, we all own horses in Sydney. That you guys are acting like wankers from where my mother moved to in Tamworth. My mother moved to Tamworth and they didn't believe we had horses in Sydney. Kid you not. They're like, well then where'd you keep them on the roof? It's like, yes, we kept our horses on the roof. You dumb idiot person that's never left Tamworth. These are wankers of people. I've been surrounded by country people, including where I live in this street, that are embarrassing themselves. I mean, some guy, Damien, keeps going, oh, I'm from this area. No, you're not. You're from the country. Piss off back there. You behave like somebody my idiot friggin' mother's daughter, mother's sister's daughter, this Christy Childs loser would affiliate with. That's what you behave like. You embarrass yourself. Me, I've always driven sports cars and high-end performance cars. I'll have my car back, thanks. I worked hard for it. Won't drive anything other than BMW. That's it. Why should I? I worked hard for it. My salary was, my salary. And I had what I had because the job that I had and the salary I had. Why should I change who I truly am? Because you want me to be somebody I'm not. America did that to me. You want me to be somebody I'm not. Immigration did that to me. You still want me to be somebody I'm not. I've had people go, oh, but his hair was blonde. My hair wasn't blonde. My hair was only blonde when I was a baby. A baby. I lost my baby hair. My hair's been black. Yeah, the least, when I put cream in my scalp, that's for when I get eczema and dry skin, it bleaches my hair a little bit, which some of the thick cream I used to use in my scalp did. But at the least, my hair's dark brown. It's naturally dark brown near black. My pubic hair is black. I'm actually naturally dark skinned if I'm healthy and looking good. I have dark skin, which comes from Stanley Fleming, my dad's father. I've never been different. I'm complete opposite looking to my twin sister because my twin sister looks like my mother's side. And actually, again, I keep showing this photo of my grandfather. I don't know where these idiots in Sydney get their information from, but they've made these stories up since they've met me. For example, they focus on where my mother lives now. It's like, yes, but that's not who my mother was when we grew up. That's who she is now. And that's not how we grew up. How we grew up was mum's best friend was Diane Scholbeck from Clifton Gardens, David Street, Clifton Gardens. I don't know if their adopted son, Brendan, will remember me. Last time I saw him was his mum's funeral in October 2005. Yeah. Ian Scholbeck was mum's boss since she was 16. How we grew up was going to the Scholbecks in Clifton Gardens near Mossman. That's how we grew up. These were our friends, not people like Margaret Britt and the other idiots. And my grandparents, Reg and Lotta, couldn't stand Margaret Britt and those people. Look, that's Dad's parents. So I'm not as dark as my grandfather. But as soon as you know who I'm actually related to, because I'm not related to Mum's second husband's family, and you start looking, then you go, oh, okay, now I can see where Justin gets it from. Besides the fact that I've had my eyebrow into 2. It used to be 1. So, look, it's a bit ridiculous when I've had to through immigration. I'm not impressed with immigration. Like, unless this gets resolved before December, I made it clear, look, my green card's up for renewal in December. I've even had a barrister have to go through notarized things. I'm like, yeah, but you're going to be doing a lot more than that. I learned French at high school. I learned Latin in primary school in 1984, and I started learning Italian. And I started learning Italian in high school. And here's the thing, I'm studying art. There's languages you need to start learning if you're for art and art majors as well. And Italian's one of them, and I did. But what I made a comment about Reginald George Purdy, Mum's father, was true. Mum's father knew. I couldn't believe it. He answered back in Italian. He answered back in English to two guys that were talking to each other in Italian. And he looked at me and he goes, "Yeah, I'm not like." It was something on the lines like about there's a lot like his daughters know about him. Like he's not as stupid as they make out. Like he knows language. He goes, "Where?" Like Pop's from Roselle, Balmain. That's actually where Mum started her life. Mum's born in Darlinghurst. Like this is the facts are the facts. And in 9 years, I've watched people gaslight me and completely ignore the facts, and they want me to be a country town, wholesome guy that's farming or something that I'm not. It's like, yeah, but I'm not this person. Never been, and no one in my family has ever had a farm. And we joked with this Stephanie DeSalis that was stalking us, and because she thought we're some country people, and we're like, oh yes, Stephanie, and I used to milk cows growing up. I've never milked a cow in my life. I've no idea about cows. I've never touched a cow. Don't know. But these was all just bullshit stories because this idiot kept stalking us. And then it's funny because they must have got back to my mother, because my mother turned around in 2018. She goes, we never grew up in the bush. We never grew up on a farm. I said, and they're going, oh, who the fuck started this shit? I'm going, I never said we did, Carol. She goes, where we lived in Sydney, which is where you grew up in Rooty Hill, it was all concrete. There was concrete paths, concrete guttering. There was no bushland. There was no trees. It's like, I never said we did. So who's saying we did, Carol? Because I never said we did. If someone asked me, I'll be like, the area we grew up in, okay, Dunsmore Street, Rooty Hill, 5-10 minutes to Parramatta, Westfields. A big, like we had land in the suburbs, long driveway, landscape gardens, swimming pool, and horses. Yeah. 30 seconds walk to a coffee shop. Where I live now is more rural than where I grew up with horses. But still we have people like Deb Mears and Michael Long and other wankers making up stories. And immigration making up stories. It's like, you want me to be somebody that I'm not. And I saw this. The same thing, some weirdo where in the US, Daniel Green, same thing. Who was looking across social media, it's like, man, I've never used mate in my entire life. My grandparents never used mate. One person in the family who never knew me before 2007, and after getting to know Dad's brother-in-law, who's a bogan, Uncle Tony, it was always like, my God, wow, he uses mate a lot. He uses mate like my grandfather used the word fuck, and I use the word bro. Because Reg was like, fuck you, fuck, yeah, like this. Reg never, ever in his life used the word mate, ever. My grandmother wouldn't. That's so bogan. That's so ochre. They don't use those words. No one in my family, oh, g'day, mate. And, oh, brekkie. Seriously, my mother's trying to fit in with these Australian ochre bogan people. It's like, why? You're an idiot. Immigration wanted the stereotype Australian, and they got a real person from Sydney. Well, tough. You wanted some stereotype, wholesome, Hemsworth Australian. You didn't get it, because that's not who I am. That's not who I've ever been. And you can see that even on my passport photo in the year 2000, taken in West Point, Blacktown. And look at the thick gold chains across my neck like the boys in the hood. Because that's who I am. I'm not some wholesome country guy. Never have been. My grandfather's brother, so Reginald George Purdy's brother, Raymond Purdy, was messing about in King's Cross. My family are city people. My grandfather's brother died at the main street of King's Cross. That's where Raymond Sr., Raymond Purdy, died at the age of 41. That's why his sons were running around King's Cross. His son, so my grandfather's nephew, Gary Purdy, is the one that was involved with Roger Rogerson. Don't care. It's one side of the family that's a bit crooked, and it's like, but it's still facts. Still who I'm related to. The other side, like my nana, hey, her mother's side are from Bellevue Hill. Take it and leave it. That's it. But we are not some wholesome country people. It's that simple. I have no idea about country. I've lived most of my life in the city. I don't go camping. I've never liked camping. My mother's trying to do what she did after April 1989 again, when she was trying to get people to make me fit into the new area she moved to, which means I have to change everything I've ever been. So stop wearing my designer label suits, because I had designer label suits. Yeah, I did as a kid. Before I was even a teenager, I had stunning suits. Stunning shoe collections, jewelry collection, Miami Vice shirts, you name it. I'm an ear pierced, always. So whatever these people for 9 years have tried to turn me into, what they've done is stop my life completely, stop my studies, my work, my career, destroyed everything. I'm fat, look nothing like I used to. And again, this comes from country people. I'll tell you now, I never had a bad word to say about country people before in my life, because I don't know them. I wasn't brought up around country people, but I'll tell you now, after my experience the last 9 years, I hate their guts. They are scammers, aren't they? I mean, even in the building I currently live in, below me, there's a fuckwit fucking loser of people. Frank and Heidi Jones, deadbeats from the country. Down the road, there's these fucking country people. I'm like, you're fucking losers. Because they think that that's where I'm from, even though I'm not. I have no idea. I wear beautiful cowboy boots. I ride horses, that's right. But in equestrian riding for nationals and royals, not farming. One of my pairs of boots, my Justin boots, was actually purchased at Max Shoes in Bondi Junction. So there. And I looked at them, thought, because they were actually brought as dress shoes. And I'm like, but I can work the horses in these, because actually proper riding boots as well. So I did utilize the both. My other cowboy boots are actually from Italy. They're done, they were gold leaf bottoms. They're actually not cowboy boots, they're dress shoes. Okay, this is insane shit to try and turn me to somebody I'm not in the last 9 years. And I've had so many people go, Giovanni changed you. No, he didn't. Giovanni moved into my apartment, my life, my assets, my belongings, my sports cars, everything I had. Giovanni didn't change me. Giovanni was living in a share house with nothing. How did he change me? Into what? Because that's why I say to people, can you please go back through all the photo albums of me like I've put on social media and the videos, and you can see me before 2009. What changed? Because I didn't know Giovanni before. So the first time I met him was August 2008. So these are just lies. But my mother's done these lies. The same thing my family goes, he doesn't see his family. We used to be a close-knit family. We were never close. These are more lies. These are more lies upon more lies upon more lies. My cousins are the biggest pieces of shit that you'd ever meet. My mother is a fucking liar. Her sister, Mary Mahowski, is a fucking liar. We've never, ever been close. We all had to meet up for our grandparents' sake. And that's all it was. We are not a close-knit family. We've never been a close-knit family. They're fucking evil. Where do you think Amanda gets it from? Where do you think Amanda gets it from? Seriously. They're just disgusting troublemaking. I mean, while it's not costing them money, they don't care about destroying someone else's life. And I'll tell you this now. Again, I'm still waiting for police to arrest this Deb Mears from Marius Street, Tamworth. How many laws does this lady have to break before people start getting arrested? I've had a gutful. Hey, look, I look nothing like me. I'm not happy. I'm definitely not happy. I'm 40 kilos overweight. How can I be happy? I've never been fat in my life. My stepfather was fat. My stepbrother was fat. Now I know why they were massive alcoholics, cannabis smokers, drug users, had mental health problems, because I tell you what, it is not pleasant being fat. I come from two very thin parents. My dad was a stick growing up, very tiny parents. My natural DNA physique is not large. I mean, I was always a bit chunkier than my dad, more muscle, but yeah, I'm 40 kilos overweight. I've got my measurements from back when I was in my 20s. Back when I was a teenager, I was a model. Okay? And that people find this hard to believe. It's like, because they thought I was someone else. It's like, no, I did modeling. What do you think my after school activities consisted of? Modeling, fashion, design, art, theatre, musical. That's what I did, acting classes. Why do people think that I was somebody that finished school and went home and farmed or something? We didn't have a farm. We had a property for horses, that's right. My sports was horses. So here's the other thing. People in Sydney have focused and they're like, but you had horses. It's like, but horses weren't my life, they were my sport. There's a difference. Horse riding at the professional level I did is done as a sport. Now, I'm not going to explain this again. Same when people think that we must have been a tea drinking family. I've never seen my mother drink. Oh, now she's got an older, she drinks tea. But seriously, she used to buy tea for me if I ever felt like tea, because I didn't like her coffee. But I would actually always bring my coffee. Now, this has been going on for years. We were raised on coffee. I joke and say I was breastfed on coffee because my entire family is a coffee drinking family. Nan used to get up and have coffee and then drink tea for the rest of the afternoon. Now, they're allergic to water. It's either tea or coffee. But I've never known them to be a massive big tea drinker. I've seen more coffee and coffee cups. Like I say, the smells I loved growing up, it was the smell of coffee, cigarettes, and leather. And that's because Pop used to have the leather shop out the back of Kerry Road, where he used to fix harness gear. So, coffee. I love coffee. Brought up on coffee. And here's the thing. America's the blame. Immigration's the blame. How many times are you going to tell these people till you're blue in the face? Like my grandmother, Ruby Jean. So Ruby, who married Stanley Fleming, is their photo. Ruby, I never knew her to drink tea. She used to drink Pablo's coffee, which is like this Greek coffee. Seriously, I even talked about it with Uncle Tony. Oh, God, it was strong. It was thick like molasses. Your teaspoon would stand up in it. I remember that growing up. It was in a tin. It was almost exactly... I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't... It may have been Arabic coffee, to be honest. It was called Pablo's. You used to mix it out, and it was... God, it was strong. It was strong coffee. That's what my grandmother drank. That's what Dad's mother always drank. Pablo's coffee. As my grandparents on my mum's side got older, they started drinking things, and I never liked it. It was the tin Nestles or something. I don't know. Not Nescafe. That was some other one, the freeze drone one that, hate it. So that's the thing. If I didn't like their coffee because they didn't have, here we go, as kids, Mum always had the drip coffee, but I always wanted the stronger coffee with the percolator. So if I didn't have the coffee that I wanted, I would drink tea. But massive coffee drinkers, massive coffee drinkers in my family. It's weird how certain people have, made. I mean, I only drink tea when I'm sick. Like if I ever get allergies, I drink tea. Here's the thing. I'm cleaning up back in 2003 when I was extending the harness shed off Nan's in Kerry Road in Blacktown, and I threw a stick in the skip bin, and it bounced back and stabbed me in the arm, and I had to have stitches put in. Went down to, excuse me, that's from those fucking trees in the... I can't stand where I live. I hate nature with a passion. Hate it. All the fucking leaves and shit. I had to go down to... There was a medical centre in West Point back then. I went the next day, but Nan's it was bleeding, and Nan came out with a cup of coffee, 2 Panadol, and a handkerchief, and that did it. It was always 2 Panadol with a cup of coffee. We always drank coffee since kids. And I made this comment years ago, and people think I was joking. It's like, no. We'll be getting up early to go somewhere, and didn't have breakfast, and we're like, have a cup of coffee. Have a cup of coffee. Remember this, at the breakfast table in Rudy Hill when we're still living there. We moved there when we were 10. Get up and have coffee. We used to get up and have coffee since little kids. Now, that is our culture. What isn't our culture is how my mum lives her life now, because she changed her lifestyle. She changed from who she was as a person, and so they fit into where they live, because they're not from there. And that's everything. That's what they wanted. But I'm not going to be that person. My grandparents weren't that person. Because my grandfather, to the day he died, kept arguing with my nan. Christ, especially the older they got, the arguments, because it was always to do with their daughters. And Pop said to me, if we didn't have daughters, I wouldn't have moved. He never wanted to move from the city. Third generation Balmain boy I am. My grandfather, my father Keith, I think his grandfather was, his grandfather might have been George. One of them's his grandfather, it was either his grandfather was George and his great-grandfather was Charles, or his grandfather was Charles and his great-grandfather was George. Because, and I'll tell you how I know this. Here's the thing family heritage and history, who knows more? The person who used to set up in 2 o'clock in the morning and speak with Pop, and he used to say, because Pop's name's Reginald George Purdy, right? Pop's father, Keith Charles Purdy. And their middle names were taken from the grandparents. So, so Pop's George. So Pop's grandfather's George. Keith's, because Keith's middle name is from his grandfather, Charles. That's it. Yeah, and that's what Pop said. So, third generation male, born and raised in Balmain. They're city people, not country people. Someone made up this story years ago in Sydney. There's some stalker, Stephanie DeSalis. And I'm like, yeah, but she doesn't know me. She stalked me. And I've been telling people the same thing over and over again. That's the truth. But no one wants to listen. Like, how did you grow up? Well, if you don't want to listen to me for 9 years, then I'm not going to repeat myself. And if you don't want to look at the photos of me, which they're here. I've already done voiceovers for YouTube. You can see. Who changed? Not me. My family. Like Dad. Dad grew up playing baseball. Dad grew up going to playing baseball, but then one of his other sports was deep sea scuba diving. That's my dad. Mark Fleming. As for, oh my God, apparently, so all this football now, rugby league. Can I just tell everybody? No one. My mother never followed rugby league before she got with Mark Rackley. That was more of her sister, Robin Childs' behaviour. And no one likes Robin Childs. Because the last thing you'd ever want is your mother to be like her. Her and her friends. So, that's one thing my mum used to be like, oh, maybe if I behaved like Sis, you all love Sis. It's like, you'll have fun with her. It's like, Mum, we're laughing at her. There's a difference between laughing at her. Like, that's the thing, like, you're the one with the issue. But I don't want you to be like Sis. Oh my God. Like, look at Shane and Chrissy. They're dragged up. So, yeah. Like, that's not the life. Horrible. And Marianne's the same. Like, seriously, my mother only really changed when she moved and she got rid of the second husband. But Mum was on the way to be exactly what Pop wanted out of a daughter. Which is what he wanted was his wife's family. Like, Mum was the closest to Big Nan, Mary. Mary was a very, elegant lady. Uncle Fred's sister. Mum was the closest to Uncle Fred, Leo Patrick Sayer. Lola went everywhere with my mother, did everything for my mother. My grandmother Lola went to ladies' college. Mum was a paralegal. Nan didn't want Mum to be around the horses, so Nan and Tony Pincham didn't like hearing this, just so you know. My mother actually went to tennis lessons growing up and ballroom dancing lessons. I'm so sick of Dad's side, seriously. Yeah. So my mother, Carol Ann Purdy, my nan used to send her off to tennis lessons and ballroom dancing lessons. And my nan, Lola, I can't stand Dad's side. Seriously, they're so fucking left. They're liberal, libertarian, socialist, communist wanks. Like, fuck off, Joe and Hilliard, Meredith Williams, Meredith McGregor. Like, they just fuck off. Seriously, I don't have any time for them anymore. I just, honestly, fuck off, Dad's side. That's what I feel about them. Seriously, like, you look at everything, I'm so sick of their bullshit over the years. They never knew me before 2007 and they never wanted to get to know me. Really. So, they're just fuckwits. With the last 9 years, it's like, excuse me, you assholes, I've asked you to help. Did you? Like stuff that they knew about me, they could have helped me. It was like, no, good example of that, Stanley Fleming. Okay? Now, we've all sat back and said, okay, and I'll tell you again before this gets to 40 minutes where I actually can't upload it. It'd be too long. When it comes to Stanley Fleming, so, my pop, all right. Oh, and he did have an accent. I've actually asked Uncle Tony Pincham, thanks for doing that for me as well. You didn't. Something simple. You've got videos of Pop when he was an old man dying. Fair enough. It was before he died. He was at the beach because they lived at the beach. But you could have given me copies of those videos. Like, for fuck's sakes, man. Like, seriously, when I'm getting lied about and I'm there telling my family, I just need things verified, and you're not doing it, it's like, how hard is it for you to actually help me verify something? And you're just like, what? Like, thanks, fucking assholes. So information I actually knew about Pop came from Ruby. So fair enough, Dad took his older sister Sandra's side, and here's the other thing, Rebecca Johnson, who's become Rebecca LeMay, Auntie Sandra's daughter. So Sandra's a Fleming, she married a fucking Johnson. Fuckwits. Anyway, Rebecca didn't talk to Nan after 1996, and I did. So I used to, even 1996, I'm studying in Newcastle, I used to get off at Woy Woy Station, get the bus inside. I used to, had to either go from Woy Woy and go from the ferry to Dad's at Empire Bay, or I used to also get the bus in to Ettalong Beach, where my nan is. And I used to go and visit Nan, have hot lunches and so forth. Or there were other times, this was going on for years, got my license. And I'd be like, oh, Dad, I'm coming over, but I'm not going to be there till, evening, like around dinner time. But I wasn't. I used to get up, leave, go to Nan's, have hot lunch with Nan, and be sitting with Nan all day. So I used to go to my Nan's and not tell Dad because Dad wasn't talking to his mother. And so I used to sit there and ask Nan, about Pop. I remember Pop, clearly. Like, even since then, so I always remember putting my hand next to Pop, going like this and going, like, he was a darker skin color to me, and he had thick black hairy arms. And I'd be like, oh my God, he's like an alien, like, because he was so, like, he's very dark. That's, like, he's very ethnic. My grandfather's ethnic. You can't say anything other than that. And Nan used to tell me what she, a little bit, not too much, but I always knew that he was an orphan and raised by Edith Kavanagh in Botany Bay. Anyway, Nan's brother George Hill told me more information. And I was like, well, look, I want documents to back this up. So I actually asked Dad's older sister, and she said, look, I haven't got documents with what. For example, Uncle George Hill said that Edith Kavanagh only took in ethnic orphan boys from the boats. Well, she's got no documents of that. If there's any proof of that, the Kavanagh family would have it. They'd have to have a record of it. But what she does have is other, there's government records of documents that give like his military discharge papers actually say, no country, no place of birth. Like unknown. Complexion, dark complexion. It describes his complexion as dark. So if that backs up what I'm saying. And so I've said all this. Do you think they could give me the original documents? It's like, look, I'm getting lied about. I've said, about Pop Stanley Fleming. I mean, that's where I get it from. That's why I look woggy. But no. Anyway, what I was getting at with that is because they've all sat around themselves and said, well, who knows what Pop was? We know he's an orphan. He was raised by Edith Kavanagh. We don't know his ethnicity. We know, he does look ethnic. He could have been, and this is exactly what Meredith has said. He could have, and so it was Uncle Tony. And I asked them, can you back this up? Here I'm getting lied about. I've made the same comment you did, Uncle Tony. I made the exact same comment Uncle Tony did. So back me up. No, in 9 years, didn't see Uncle Tony turning up going, I've said this, Meredith said this, what Justin's saying is what we've all said. We know Stanley Fleming is an orphan. We're not idiots. Okay? He's an orphan that's very ethnic looking, that was raised by Edith Kavanagh. That's where we get it all from in the family. Looking at it. And what we sat back and said, he could have been Italian because they look very Italian, but he could have been Greek, Maltese, Lebanese. I mean, look at Auntie Sandra, the way Auntie Sandra looked as well. And that's what we've said. Okay? And that's what they've said. Now, this also came from my wanker high school. Because people say to me, oh, but why do you look the way you do? And I turn around to them and said, oh, well, there's French on mum's side. And my cousins always say dad's side, dad's father was Italian. So who knows? That's how I said it. Didn't say I was Italian. But there is French on my mother's side. Yeah. My nan Lola, her great-grandmother is French. Whether my mother wants to keep denying that or not, where's the document? She's French. Bridget Dufresne is French. So my nan Lola, her grandmother is Julia. Julia's mother, Bridget Dufresne, is French. Bridget Dufresne was French. Okay? Nan said she wasn't born in Australia. Nan would know. Nan told me, and I've got the document of Julia's death record that has her parents on it. Bridget Dufresne married an Irishman. So there's Dufresne, Ryan, they got married, and they had Julia, May, and Annie Ryan. So I've said this. I said, oh, well, there is, when the ethnic comes into it, there's French. And then dad's side said, well, I always think he looks more Arabic, but they've said, could have been Italian, who knows? Like that. So the statement I made to fucking country town wanks, go fuck yourself, Rosebery College. I'm actually going to start being truthful and say, when my mother moved from Sydney and she kept saying, oh, you've got to change. I'm like, why should I change? You moved here. Why do I have to fit in with these people? I can't stand these people you've moved around. Can't fucking stand them. So they used to drive me nuts to the point that I was like, I loved art. I love music, classical music, Bach. Oh God, St. Matthew's Passion. That was one of the records, vinyls that Uncle Fred gave me. Loved my jazz and so forth. Aubrey Beardsley. So there was actually a good art selection and stuff. So I used to try and avoid them because I was nice and would socialise. And after a while, I was like, fuck these country people give me a migraine. I can't believe I've got to socialise with them. It's like, I just want to be back home in Sydney. Can't wait to the weekend and be like, oh, fucking losers of people. Seriously. And the people my mother used to try and get us to socialise with were fucking deadbeats of people. It's like, oh God. Like it was this nails down a chalkboard. It's like, I was only there for 6 years. It's like, she wanted to change her lifestyle. The kids should have been taken off her. I'm sorry, but the government made a mistake here. Why wasn't the custody given to dad? That's insanity. Mum's just moved from Sydney to an area she knows nobody, 5 hours away. That's insane. Take the kids from her. Like, seriously, I'm looking there going, my fucking God. Where am I going to wear my suits here? Seriously. Like, honestly, God, we went from being where I walk out my front door and everything's paved and concrete. I'm wearing my suits and my gold jewelry and my pumps. I used to wear my pumps, my Reebok pumps with the suits. Are fucking fantastic. And looking fly, going down and get a coffee down in Root Hill Road to, I can't wear my shoes out here. They'll get muddy. Like, seriously. It's like, what am I supposed to do? Like, how am I supposed to live here? Yeah, she wanted to change her lifestyle. I was like, how can I fucking live here? And she's like, oh, you need to fit in. I'm like, no, I don't need to fit in, Carol. I'm moving back home to Sydney. I don't need to fit in because I didn't buy a house here like an insane loser to suit her second husband. You did. So you need to fit in. I don't. I'm going back home to Sydney.